Oh, welcome everyone to another episode of the Muscle Strength and Menopause podcast. I'm your host, Sara Frenza. So today's podcast is a special treat. This is actually a replay of a masterclass that I did on December the 2nd. The masterclass is on how to avoid gaining weight over the holidays, and this is specifically for women in perimenopause or post-menopause. What I am going through in the masterclass is why the holidays are challenging for perimenopausal and postmenopausal women. What's happening in your body right now. So I go over the hormone and metabolism shifts that are occurring while we're in this transition. And then I actually go through my exact 8 strategy system that helps women avoid that typical holiday weight gain of, that 5 pounds plus that can typically occur over the holidays. So I wanted to share this with you because it's had a lot of really great information, and I think it can be helpful for you right now, seeing that we are in the holidays. So at the end of this training, at the end of this masterclass, what you'll learn is how to enjoy your favorite holiday foods, how to prevent that weight gain, and how to support your hormones so cravings and bloating decrease. Create a simple plan that you can follow confidently for the month of December and, getting started now instead of waiting for January. So I really hope that you enjoy this masterclass. Let's dive in. Welcome to Muscle Strength and Menopause, the podcast for women over 40 who refuse to accept that nothing works anymore. I'm your host, Sara Frenza, a certified nutrition coach, fitness expert, and hormone and menopause specialist, and the founder of the science-backed Hourglass Body Method. After losing 50 pounds in my 40s and helping hundreds of women transform their bodies and life, I'm here to show you the real way to lose fat, build muscle, and get stronger in midlife without burnout, starvation, or shame. If you're tired of fighting your hormones, struggling with stubborn belly fat, or wondering if it's too late to build the strong, confident body you want, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll break down the science, bust the myths, and share the exact strategies that are working right now for women in perimenopause and menopause. Because muscle is your menopause superpower, and we're about to show you how to claim it. Let's dive in. Welcome. And for a lot of you that are here, for some of you are new to my community, some of you are not, some of you are my clients as well too. And so especially for our clients, we will be implementing these strategies that I'm teaching tonight, right along your side as we coach with you one-on-one. And because these are the exact same strategies that we help all of our one-on-one coaching clients with. Okay, so I want you to write a yes or comment yes in the chat box if this sounds familiar to you. Last holiday season, you promised yourself you'd be good. Maybe you went into Thanksgiving telling yourself you'd only have one plate, skip the dessert, or you'd make up for it by doing extra cardio. And then what happened? Maybe over the holidays between Thanksgiving and New Year's, you gained 5, 7, maybe 8 pounds. And here's the kicker. It takes you until June to lose it, or maybe you haven't even lost it yet up until now. How many of you can relate to this? That maybe this is a situation that you've been in, maybe not last year or the year before. Comment yes if this is you, that you can relate with this scenario. Okay, awesome. Obviously this you can relate, or else you wouldn't be here today, right? Wanting to learn how to avoid gaining weight over the holidays? Yes, okay. So, but one thing that I want to make clear is that a lot of what's going on with this weight gain is not your fault, and it's not about willpower. Your body is fundamentally different than it was in your 20s and your 30s. The hormonal shifts happening in perimenopause and menopause make you more susceptible to holiday weight gain, and I'm going to show you exactly why, and more importantly, what to do about it. All right, so a little bit about me. My name is Coach Sara Frenza. I've helped hundreds of women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s lose weight, transform their bodies, and keep it off during perimenopause and menopause. I have personally lost 50 pounds myself in my 40s, and I've navigated several holiday seasons while maintaining my results, not being perfect, but having a smart plan designed for hormonal changes. And today I'm going to walk you through that. I'm going to walk you through a few things. I'm going to teach you, why the holidays are especially challenging for perimenopausal and postmenopausal women. I'm going to teach you the science behind what's actually happening in your body right now. And then I'm also going to teach you the exact 8 strategy system that keeps my clients from gaining weight over the holidays while still enjoying their favorite foods and family gatherings. So by the end of this training, you'll know exactly how to enjoy your favorite holiday foods without guilt, prevent weight gain, even with parties, stress, and travel, support your hormones so cravings and bloating decrease, and create a simple plan you can follow confidently, and start January already ahead, not starting all over again. The one thing that I want to go into is, why the holidays are harder for perimenopausal and menopausal women. Most women think holiday weight gain happens to everyone equally, but the truth is, if you're in perimenopause and menopause, you're fighting an uphill battle with the younger woman simply because your hormones have changed, and I'm going to explain why. Okay. So reason number one is a lot of things are happening with your estrogen. So your estrogen declines and there's a decrease in insulin sensitivity, or rather an increase in insulin resistance. Okay. So what is driven by estrogen? This is driven by estrogen's effect on something called GLUT4 proteins. So I want you to think of GLUT4 as little doorways that let glucose or sugar from your food into your muscle cells, liver, and fat tissue. Okay. When you had higher estrogen levels, so in your 20s, 30s, late 30s, you start noting that in your early 40s, these estrogen levels start to decrease. These GLUT4 proteins work efficiently without needing much insulin. So your body could pull glucose into your cells easily. But now with declining estrogen, your body has reduced ability to pull glucose in without insulin. So your pancreas has to produce more insulin to get the same job done. But here's where it gets tricky. Your body was so used to not needing much insulin for all of those years. Now it heavily relies on insulin, but there's actually a misstep in the messaging. So your body is like, hey, wait, I don't know quite what to do with all of this insulin now. And so what happens is that there's a disconnect between how much insulin your body is producing and how your skeletal muscle, liver, and fat tissues are trying to use that glucose. So why does this matter over the holidays? Well, if you think about it, what you're eating during the holidays, cookies, stuffing, mashed potatoes, pie, holiday cocktails, eggnog, chocolate treats. These are all high carbohydrate, high sugar foods, high fat foods that flood your system with glucose. So your body is trying to process these foods with an insulin system that's confused and not working as efficiently as it used to. Your pancreas is pumping out more insulin than ever before, but your tissues aren't responding properly to it. So the result, more of those carbohydrates get stored as fat, especially around your belly, instead of being used for energy or stored in your muscles. So it's like your body's filing system went haywire and everything's getting misfiled straight to the belly fat folder instead of the use for energy folder. So not only are you more insulin resistant during perimenopause and menopause, but the holidays are literally the worst time for this because you're eating more carbohydrates and sugar than any other time of year. So you're flooding an already struggling system with exactly the foods it can't handle efficiently anymore. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is you're breaking down muscle a lot faster now. So as you go into perimenopause or postmenopause, and actually I want to explain perimenopause and postmenopause, okay? Menopause, just so you know, ladies, is only one day, okay? It's when you've gone 12 months without a period. Everything prior to that, the 3 to 10 years prior to that, that is considered perimenopause. The day after you go with 12 months without a period is considered post-menopause. So if you hear me saying perimenopause, post-menopause, that's what I'm relating to, because technically menopause is just one day. And so just so we understand the correct terminology around all of this, menopause is just one day. So you're either in perimenopause or postmenopause. So everything that I'm going to be talking about today, is for any woman over the age of 40. So you're either in perimenopause or postmenopause. So let's talk about what's happening with your muscle. Okay. As you go into perimenopause or postmenopause, you have a higher sympathetic drive. So that's your stress response system. And so when you have a higher sympathetic drive, you have higher cortisol and more stress overall. This creates what's called a catabolic state, meaning your body is breaking down muscle tissues more readily than ever. And at the same time, you have less of a stimulus to build muscle because of declining estrogen and progesterone. So you've got two problems. Your body is less able to build muscle, and your body is breaking down more muscle. So what this means is that you have an increased need for dietary protein, but most women aren't getting anywhere near enough protein in their diet. I know that because when women come to us, we do a full nutritional assessment. And on average, women think they're eating enough protein, but when we actually weigh their food and calculate it all, they're only getting about 60 grams, maybe 80 grams of protein per day, when a lot of them need 150 to 160 grams of protein per day. So you already have a body that's breaking down muscle at an accelerated rate. Then you're not providing your body with the dietary protein to retain that lean muscle mass. The issue is during the holidays, again, what are people mostly eating? Carb-heavy breakfast, pancakes, waffles, pastries, snacking on cookies and candy, people bringing in all these treats at work, big holiday dinners where the protein is maybe 4 ounces, of turkey, but there's unlimited access to rolls, casseroles, and desserts. For those of you that are my client, how many of you are aware now that there are very little protein sources when you go out to eat at other people's homes? Or if you're at a party? How many of you realize that? Marissa, you're my client. Maybe some of you that are not my client. How many of you realize that when you go out, there are very, very little protein sources available, especially at these parties? So a lot of you are going to notice this, especially if you're clients, because, our clients eat the right amount of protein daily. So you're already in a state where your body is catabolizing muscle. And now you're giving it even less protein than usual while simultaneously eating more carbs, fat. So again, this is a recipe for losing muscle and gaining fat. And what happens when we lose muscle at an accelerated rate like this? We our resting metabolic rate, meaning the amount of calories that our body burns at rest, starts to decline. This is another reason why women gain a significant amount of weight during perimenopause and menopause. It's because of these changes occurring. Reason number 3 is your brain chemistry has actually changed. Okay, so we want to talk about the brain. And just so you know, we have estrogen receptors all over the body. Okay, and so the reality is when we lose estrogen, it affects all of our systems of our body. And so that's why I want to touch on what is going on with the brain, because this is a huge for understanding holiday stress and food cravings. So estrogen crosses and I'm going to get a little sciencey here. I do this. I think you ladies can handle this. I think it's important for you to know what's going on with your bodies. Okay. So estrogen crosses the blood-brain barrier and has a powerful effect on serotonin. Okay. Your feel-good neurotransmitter that helps regulate mood, stress response, and feelings of calm. So here's what estrogen does when it's at a higher level. So under the age of 40. So first of all, estrogen increases an enzyme called tryptophan hydroxylase. This enzyme converts tryptophan from your food into serotonin. So more estrogen equals more serotonin production. Second, estrogen increases how long serotonin stays active in your brain. It basically prevents serotonin from being broken down or reabsorbed too quickly. So you want to think of estrogen as a traffic cop that keeps serotonin hanging around longer so it can actually do its job. Third, estrogen reduces the effect of an enzyme called monoamine oxidase A, which normally breaks down serotonin. So estrogen is protecting serotonin from being destroyed. And fourth, estrogen increases the density of serotonin receptors in your brain and makes them more sensitive. So this means one serotonin molecule has a much greater impact when estrogen is around compared to when it's not. So when you had a steady or higher levels of estrogen, you had more serotonin being made, serotonin staying active longer, serotonin being protected from breakdown, and more receptors that were super sensitive to it. So this kept your mood stable and helped you handle stress. But now in perimenopause or post-menopause, when estrogen fluctuates wildly or drops, you get these dramatic swings in serotonin. So, and this can be, and here's what can be particularly problematic about that. When you have a boost of estrogen dominance, okay, what estrogen dominance means is that estrogen is higher relative to progesterone. You get an upregulation of serotonin, your mood lifts, you feel good. But then when estrogen drops suddenly, which happens constantly in perimenopause with all of those hormone fluctuations, you get what's called a serotonin dump. Okay, your serotonin levels plummet, and the immediate response is severe mood drops, anxiety, and even depression, which is a very, very common symptom of a lot of women going through perimenopause and can even extend into postmenopause. So it's like being on an emotional roller coaster where you have no control over the ups and the downs. Okay, so the other thing that you experience is a decrease of BDNF. So this is a brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is important for regenerating brain tissue and cognitive function. This is what contributes to the brain fog that so many women experience in perimenopause or postmenopause. So why does this matter during the holidays? Well, the holidays are already most stressful time of year. There's shopping, cooking, hosting, cleaning, family dynamics, and potential conflict. You know, maybe there's a relative that, you don't get along with. Financial pressures from gifts and travel, less sleep, completely disrupted routines, travel stress if you're visiting family. Maybe there's a lot of grief during this time of year, missing loved ones during the holidays. A lot of people are very sad during this time of year because they've lost someone very significant in their life. And this brings up, the holidays can be a time where it brings up a lot of memories for them. Now add hormonal changes that makes you less equipped to handle stress because your serotonin system is completely dysregulated. So what ends up happening is you feel anxious, stressed, overwhelmed. Your brain is desperately trying to boost serotonin to feel better. And what is the fastest way to temporarily boost serotonin? Food, sugar, carbohydrates. When you eat sugar and refined carbs, it temporarily increases that tryptophan crossing into your brain, which briefly boosts serotonin. Your brain gets a hit of that feel-good chemical it's been craving. So that's why you're standing in the kitchen at 9 p.m. eating Christmas cookies straight from the tin. That's why you can't stop thinking about the leftover pie in the fridge. And that's why one cookie turns into 5 cookies. It's not a character flaw. It's not a lack of willpower. It's your brain trying to self-medicate with food because your hormones have disrupted your neurotransmitter system. Your brain is literally driving you to seek out those foods as a survival mechanism to try to stabilize your mood and stress response. Now add to this that you also have an increased sympathetic drive. So that's your fight or flight stress response system. You have a higher sympathetic drive means higher cortisol, which we'll talk about next. But the combination of dysregulated serotonin plus elevated cortisol creates this perfect storm where stress feels overwhelming and then food becomes your primary coping mechanism. Let's move on to reason number 4. Your sleep is a disrupted sleep, okay? How many of you right now are dealing with sleep issues? Either not being able to go to sleep, waking up in the middle of the night. This is very, very common. A lot of you are getting disrupted sleep due to night sweats, hot flashes, or just general sleep disruption because of hormonal fluctuations. When cortisol levels don't drop appropriately at night, which often happens in perimenopause, it creates this tired but wired state. You know, how many of you feel this way? Like you're tired, but you can't fall asleep. Poor sleep affects two key hormones, leptin and ghrelin. Okay. Leptin tells you when you're full. Okay. This is the hormone that is responsible for telling your body that you're full. Ghrelin tells you when you are hungry. And when you're sleep deprived, leptin goes down and ghrelin goes up. So translation, you get hungrier and less satisfied after eating. An interesting study shows that one night of sleep deprivation decreased insulin sensitivity by 33%. That's more than 6 months of being on a high inflammatory diet. So if you went on a high inflammatory diet for 6 months, you would see a decrease of insulin sensitivity by 33%, whereas just one night of poor sleep will increase that insulin sensitivity, which, as I mentioned already, is reason number one. We already are becoming more insulin resistant due to the loss of estrogen. Why this matters during the holidays? Well, during the holidays, your sleep gets even more disrupted. You have late night parties, travel across time zones, maybe. There's alcohol consumption, which further disrupts sleep. Your stress is keeping you awake. You're starting with compromised sleep from hormonal changes, and then the holidays make it worse. And this creates a perfect storm for increased hunger, poor food choices, and impaired fat metabolism, all at the same time when you're surrounded by endless food. Reason number 5. So this one's a long one, but we're going to talk about your baseline cortisol levels. So our stress hormone. So cortisol is our stress hormone, and this is a big piece of the puzzle that ties really everything together. As you go into perimenopause and the menopause transition, you develop what's called a higher sympathetic drive. Okay. So think of your nervous system like it has two settings: sympathetic, so your stress response, flight or fight mode, and parasympathetic. This is your rest and digest, calm mode. In perimenopause and menopause, your body shifts towards being in a sympathetic stress state more of the time. Even when nothing stressful is happening, your baseline stress response is higher than it used to be. And this is happens because of the changes of the withdrawal of estrogen and progesterone that is happening during perimenopause, and your body reacting to that. So this means you have elevated baseline cortisol levels compared to your premenopausal years. I'm not saying that cortisol is bad. You need it to wake up in the morning. You need it to help regulate blood sugar and respond to actual stress. But when it's chronically elevated, that's when problems start, okay? So first, high cortisol promotes fat storage, specifically around your midsection. So that stubborn belly fat that appeared out of nowhere in your 40s, that's partially driven by elevated cortisol. Cortisol literally signals your body to store visceral fat around your organs. This is where we get that more of that visceral fat gain. Secondly, elevated cortisol breaks down muscle tissue. I talked about that earlier. Being in that catabolic state, cortisol is a major drive of that. When cortisol is high, your body breaks down muscle to create glucose, blood sugar, through a process called glucogenesis. You're literally losing the muscle you desperately need to maintain your metabolism. Third, chronically elevated cortisol disrupts your sleep architecture. So normally, cortisol should be the highest in the morning to wake you up and lowest at night so that you can go to sleep. But when you have elevated baseline cortisol, it doesn't drop appropriately at night. This is what creates that tired but wired feeling. You're exhausted but can't fall asleep or stay asleep that so many you here right now are struggling with. And we know poor sleep then raises cortisol even more, creating this vicious cycle. Fourth, high cortisol increases insulin resistance. So cortisol raises blood sugar levels, which then requires more insulin to be brought back down. And over time, this just makes it worse. And fifth, elevated cortisol affects your mood and brain fog. So high cortisol contributes more to anxiety, irritability, and that feeling of being constantly on edge. So you're walking around with this elevated stress response, even on a normal day with no major stressors. Your body is already in a semi-stressed state just from the hormonal transition itself. So why does this matter during the holidays? Is because it's a huge problem over the holidays. You're starting with elevated baselines, and then you add actual stress on top of that, financial stress from gift shopping and travel expenses, time pressure from cooking, cleaning, hosting, decorating, social stress from family dynamics and potential conflict, physical stress from disrupted sleep schedules and less exercise or less movement. Then you have mental stress from trying to make everything perfect. And then you have this emotional stress from expectations and comparison. So each of these stressors spikes your cortisol even higher. And here's what happens when cortisol gets really elevated. Your cravings go through the roof. You store more belly fat. Your sleep gets worse. You break down more muscle, and your willpower and decision-making suffer. Okay? So this becomes the perfect storm. It becomes the perfect storm. You have elevated baseline cortisol from hormonal changes. You add holiday stress on top. Cortisol spikes even higher. You experience intense cravings for sugar and carbs. You have impaired decision-making from the cortisol. You eat more carbs and sugar than planned. That raises your blood sugar and insulin, which then keeps cortisol elevated even longer. Poor sleep keeps the cycle going. You wake up the next day with cortisol still high, and the whole cycle repeats itself. Add to this that you're surrounded by unlimited holiday treats. You're skipping workouts. You're drinking more alcohol, and you're not sleeping well. It's the perfect storm for weight gain. And this is why women in perimenopause and menopause can gain 5 to 8 pounds in December alone, when in their 30s, they might have only gained, 1 or 2 pounds during the holiday, not really struggling with that. I remember I never really struggled with that when I was younger. I started struggling with that as I got older. So your body physiologically is more susceptible to stress-induced weight gain than it used to be. This isn't in your head. It isn't a lack of willpower. This is biology. So the good news is that the strategies that we're going to talk about in a few minutes are specifically designed to help you manage cortisol levels during the holidays. Things like not skipping meals, prioritizing protein, strategic planning, getting enough sleep, managing alcohol, and staying active with walks and movements, okay? So when you understand that cortisol is a major driver of holiday weight gain for hormonal women, you can take a targeted action to manage it. So let's get into the system. Okay, actually, before that, this is just a visual so that you can see here how estrogen affects the entire body. Literally affects the entire body, brain, everywhere. Your urogenital system, sexual function, central nervous system, skin, hair changes, insulin resistance, metabolic and weight changes, musculoskeletal system. When we start losing these important hormones, estrogen and progesterone, primarily estrogen, but progesterone does make a big impact as well too, we start seeing all of these changes happening. So what is the strategy? Now that we know why this is happening to our bodies, now we got to put together a strategy so that this doesn't need to happen. Just like when our clients come to work with us, they know they're having a difficult time losing weight. They come to work with us because we teach them. They understand what's going on with their biology. They understand what's going on with their body. And they understand that what we are doing with them is a strategy that works with their new biology. Let's go into strategy number 1. So strategy number 1 is plan. And I know, and all of you that are my clients, my saying, right? My saying is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so that is why we are starting off with strategy number 1. So this is the holidays lacks a lot of structure, which is terrible for perimenopausal and menopausal women who need consistency and to manage cortisol and blood sugar. So here's what you need to do. I want you all to look at your calendar right now. So if you have a phone, I want you all to pull up your calendar right now. And so for those of you that are our clients, we have a rule where we have about 2 free meals a week. So these are meals where our clients are not, maybe tracking their food or weighing their food. We allow these free meals for restaurant meals, for occasions, for going out, right? Because we want to have like that flexibility. So if we look at the month of December, over the month of December, that would equal, there's 4 full weeks in December. That means we're looking at, let's say, 8 free meals for the whole month of December. So I want you to go into your calendar right now and count how many events where you will be having these off-plan meals. These meals where you're going to a party, a Christmas dinner, or something like that. Count them through your schedule. So what we're looking for is 8 free meals for the entire month of December. So that might mean that one week you might have no free meals and the next week you might have 3, but look at your calendar and see how many meals am I going to actually have that are not going to be on, in par with your nutrition strategy. So we want to choose 8 events or meals that matter the most to you. You want to schedule them into your calendar. And then everything else, you go back to regular eating plan. Everything else, all of those other meals, and this is something that, a common excuse I hear from people all the time is like, oh, I can't do anything over the holidays because, the holidays are just crazy. I don't know. Maybe some of you have more than 8 or 10 events going on for the month of December. But I don't. When I look at the month of December, I don't have more than 8 parties or 8 events or 8 meals that I'm going to be not structured meals like I would normally have. So there, if you look at the month of December with 31 days minus 8, you got 23 days. And I'm just talking about meals here, ladies. So if we ate 4 meals a day, 4 times 31, that's 124 meals. Let's say you're having 10 meals. That gives you 114 meals to stay consistently on plan. How many of you think that if you're eating 114 meals on plan, that you're not going to make progress? Do any of you think you're not going to make progress if out of 124 meals out of the month, 114 of them, you're eating well? Right? It's not that big of a deal. That's 90%. That means 90% of your meals are going to be good. Right? So we think it's a huge deal, but it's really not. And I'm here to put things in perspective for you. It's what matters, what we're doing out of those 114 meals. That's going to matter most. Okay? That's the first thing that you need to do is plan out your meals. Okay? So when you know which meals are free meals or those festive meals, you eliminate decision fatigue and the stress of constantly negotiating with yourself. This lowers stress. Lower stress equals less fat storage. Okay? So that's the one thing that I would like you all to do, whether you want to do that now or after the call. That's your one thing, is you plan out those 8 meals, even if it's 10 meals that you have. Plan out when you're going to be having those holiday meals during the month of December. Okay? Strategy number 2 is to prioritize your protein at every meal. So remember, you're in a muscle breakdown state. You need more protein than you did in your 30s. And we're talking about, 30 grams of protein per meal, ideally 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal. So what you could do at holiday events, you can look at the menu before if you're going to a restaurant, pre-log your food choices, or like make the decision before you go to the event. This is something that I do weekly with my clients. I'm like, okay, where are you going this week? Are you having a free meal? What restaurant are you going to? Let's pull up the menu from that restaurant. Let's look at the choices ahead of time and pre-choose what you are going to have before you go in there. Ideally, we want protein to be the star of your plate. We then want to add veggies and then a small portion of carbs. So what the rule of thumb is like protein should be the palm of your hand here. Okay. Half your plate of veggies. Fist size is for your carb. So that could be potato, can be rice, it could be pasta, it could be bread. And then this is the size for your fats, butter, oils, salad dressings. And just keep in mind when you go to restaurants too, they are going to cook with a lot of butter and oil because they want their foods to be very flavorful, right? If you are going to an event, okay, so let's just say that you're going to a family gathering. Again, same thing. Fill half your plate with do your palm-sized protein. Fill half your plate with vegetables. Enjoy a small portion of your favorite carb dish, so fist size, and then wait 10 to 15 minutes before going up for seconds. Okay. Give your body time to digest that food. Because I know some of it's like super palatable, very, very yummy foods. It's got a lot of like fats and oils in them, salts and sugars, lots of flavors happening, right? So you're like, oh my God, this is so good. I want to go for seconds. Give your body some time before to make that decision of whether you want to go for seconds or not. Give yourself 10 or 15 minutes. And the other big piece of advice I would give you is enjoy the moment. I think a lot of times we're like just shoveling the food in our mouths and we're not enjoying the moment with family. Have conversation. Slow down the eating. Enjoy the people, the foods, the flavors. Okay, so why this works, again, protein keeps you in an anabolic state. It helps keep your metabolism boosted. It stabilizes blood sugar. So it keeps you full longer, and it literally builds the muscle or helps you preserve the muscle that you have, that your hormones, that your body is constantly trying to break down. Plus, protein requires more energy to digest than carbs and fats. So you're actually burning more calories just by eating more protein. Okay. So strategy number 3 is never skip meals. How many of you have done this? I'm not going to eat breakfast. I'm not going to eat all day until I go to the event. I know I've done this before in the past, but now obviously I don't do that anymore. But I have been in your shoes of, hey, you know what? I'm not going to eat all day, but don't do this. This is the worst mistake that you can make. It's critical for managing cortisol and blood sugar during perimenopause. So you want to be eating a high protein breakfast and lunch before your event. So if it's a dinner, make sure you're having a high protein breakfast. So you could do something like 6 egg whites, 6 egg white omelet with veggies, a little bit of turkey bacon, a slice of whole wheat bread. Okay, that's going to give you 30 plus grams of protein. Then you want to have grilled chicken salad with olive oil dressing. If you do 130 grams of grilled chicken, that's going to give you 30 grams of protein. Maybe do 140 grams of grilled chicken. This way you arrive at your event feeling satisfied, not starving. And if your event is later on, like at 6 o'clock, I would even also recommend like doing a 0% zero fat Greek yogurt at around 2 or 3. So that way you go into the event with blood sugar levels regulated and you're not going in there hangry. Because then what's going to happen? You're going to overeat. So this keeps everything really, really great before your party. You don't show up there ravenous. Okay, so strategy number 4, manage alcohol. Okay, so Alcohol affects perimenopausal women differently than it did in your 30s. How many of you, just you can pop this in the comment section, are noticing that you can't handle alcohol like you did before? Or, like you have a glass of wine or alcohol or whatever the case may be, you can't sleep good that night. So if you do decide to have alcohol, there is a strategy that I like to share with you. So few things that alcohol does, it slows down your metabolism, okay, because your body perceives it as it's not good for the body. There's a word that I'm looking for here and I just can't remember it off the top of my head. But it sees it as bad for the body. So basically it will slow down your metabolism to get rid of it. It lowers your inhibitions. So again, can make you eat more food. It disrupts your sleep, so making the next day eating even worse. It increases your cortisol and then it affects insulin sensitivity. So the strategy is drink a lot of water throughout the day. Try to aim for about 3 liters of water throughout the day. Decide before you get there how much alcohol you are going to have. Am I going to have 1? Am I going to have 2 drinks? Decide before you get there and stick to that decision. What I like to do is to alternate an alcoholic mix with the sparkling water. So if you're doing 1 alcohol, you could do sparkling water or regular water, whatever you want. Or maybe you do like a diet something. Or stretch 1 drink into 2 by mixing it with carbonated water. And choose clear, lower sugar options when possible. Okay. So you'll get to still enjoy social drinking, but you're protecting your hormonal balance and sleep quality. Plus staying hydrated helps with, you feeling more satiated and kind of reduces those sugar cravings as well too. And like I said earlier, like some women can no longer handle alcohol during this phase of their lives. And I do strongly recommend staying away from alcohol, especially if you're having a significant amount of hormonal symptoms, night sweats, hot flashes, anxiety, depression, all of the things that are not driving well with you right now. I do highly recommend removing alcohol. So strategy number 5 is declining leftovers. Okay. You enjoyed your meal with your family, great, but stick to your plan, decline the leftovers, okay? If you take home containers of stuffing, pie, casseroles, that 1 meal, remember we talked about, only 8 or 10 meals throughout the month? Well, what ends up happening? That 1 meal turns into multiple days afterwards, okay? It turns into 3 or 4 days or 8 meals that you're adding on top of it, which then you're going to feel guilty. Your blood sugar spikes, sugar stays elevated, your insulin resistance get worse, and you've undone all your good work. So, what you can really tell, your family is thank you so much, but I'm really working on some health goals right now. And I do better when I keep treats to special occasions. But I loved enjoying this with you today. Okay. If they offer protein, take the protein. If they offer extra turkey, chicken, whatever the case may be, you could take that, but leave the other stuff behind. Strategy number 6 is bring a protein-packed dish. I love this one. Don't leave your nutrition by chance. If you're going to a party when you're not sure what's being served, bring a dish supports your goals, something that's high in protein and delicious enough that everyone will want to eat. So here's the good news. I'm giving everyone who joined this masterclass a free copy of my holiday recipe book. Okay, so in there, toxin. Thank you. Whoever wrote that in, thank you, Donna. That's the word I was looking for, toxin. You see, I've got that brain fog that's happening as well too. But anyways, all of you that signed up for this masterclass, you are going to get my holiday recipe book. So this book is full of protein-packed recipes that are perfect for bringing to parties. If you're hosting, you could serve it at your gatherings or making it yourself during the holiday season. So these aren't diet recipes. These recipes are good. They taste amazing. Your family and friends are going to actually want to eat them. They're high in protein, so they support your goals. And so some examples from my recipe book are there's some protein cookies, salads, dips, casseroles, pecan pie dip. My famous one, which is the buffalo chicken dip. Everybody loves that. I bring that everywhere. People know if I'm coming to your party, I'm bringing the buffalo chicken dip. And people love it. So when you bring one of these dishes to a gathering, you have a guaranteed protein source on the table. If the other options are great, like chips, dips, breads, desserts, you can fill up on your dish plus vegetables and feel completely satisfied without derailing your plan. Or you fill up on your dish and vegetables and, try some of the other ones, but that's not going to be the main source of your food for that evening. Okay, so let's go on to strategy number 7. So strategy number 7, this is actually more of an advanced strategy, but it works beautifully. We do this a lot of times with our clients. So our clients this month are going to map out all of their dinners and all of their events this month, and they're going to share it with their coach, and we're going to review all of that. And this might be a strategy that you might want to use if you're tracking your food using an app. But let's just say your weekly calorie goal is, let's just say you're eating 1,700 calories per day. That works out to 11,900 calories for the week. What you could do is do 5 lower calorie days and 2 higher calorie days. So then that way on the days where you're having events, your total weekly calories still equal the same. And this will allow you to enjoy bigger meals, like 2,000 calories. That's a lot, right? So you can go 2,100 calories. That's a lot. But also, a lot of these desserts and these highly palatable foods are very high in calories as well, too. So you have to be very aware of that. But this gives you more flexibility. Okay. So on the higher calorie days, you can use those on your scheduled holiday events. Enjoy the special meal with more portion awareness. Still prioritize your protein. On the lower calorie days, you focus on nutrient dense foods, vegetables, lots of vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains. These are filling but lower in calories. Lots of fruits. You're not starving. You're just being strategic. Okay. And so this works because you're balancing your calories over the week, and you're not doing, let's say, a 1,700 calorie day and then a 2,500 calorie day. Well, then that's going to just keep adding on the calories, which can also cause the weight gain as well, too. So this is a more strategic, advanced way of doing this so that you can see the results that you want. Now, strategy number 8 is embrace maintenance. This is the most important mind shift. The holidays are not the time for ambitious fat goals. Unless some of my clients really don't have anything going on during the holidays, they might have just like a Christmas Eve dinner and a Christmas Day dinner, and that's pretty much it. So for them, they really don't have a lot of events. So they're good to pursue fat loss. But if you have a lot of events, a lot of things going on, the main goal over the holidays is to maintain your current progress. This relieves the pressure and allows you to enjoy the holiday season without guilt. While maintaining your weight. This is an achievement, especially when you're dealing with all of these hormonal changes. What this means practically, you might reduce workout intensity or frequency slightly, focus on maintaining muscle, not building, staying active with walks, short home workouts. Get creative. Maybe you do a lot of family walks after dinner or quick hotel room workouts if traveling, or maybe you walk on the treadmill at the hotel. So when you release the pressure to lose weight during the holidays, you remove a major source of stress. Less stress equals less cortisol, equals better hormonal balance, and easier to maintain your weight. So plus, if you maintain through the holidays, you're already ahead of the 80% of women. You'll start January exactly where you are now, not 5 to 8 pounds heavier. Okay. So all of these strategies, just so you know, are going to be in the nutrition guide that you're going to get. So tomorrow morning with the replay in the email, you will get my holiday recipe book, and you'll also get my nutrition guide, my holiday nutrition guide. So all of these steps are all outlined there in for you. So you can print it off or you can look at it whenever you want to, and you can review all of these strategies. Okay. So any questions about that before I go any further? Anything that you feel like you can do right away that you're like, oh, that's pretty easy, or yes, I'm going to do that. Like anything that you're going to implement right away. How many of you are going to do the calendar? Okay. So let's move on. So here's what I want you to understand. These strategies aren't just about avoiding holiday weight gain. They're about learning to work with your changing hormones, whether you're in perimenopause or postmenopause. The skills that you're building by implementing this strategy, it helps you manage stress without using food. It helps you prioritize protein for muscle maintenance or growth, planning ahead instead of reacting, setting boundaries around food, and understanding your body signals. These are the same skills that will help you lose weight sustainably in the new year, build muscle and strength, improve your insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, feel energized instead of exhausted, and sleep better, and reduce hot flashes and other menopausal symptoms. So the transformation that I see in our clients is that they stop fighting their bodies. They stop feeling like failures. They start feeling powerful because they understand what's happening and they have the tools that actually work. You know, one client told me last year that the first time in her life, I'm not dreading the holidays. I have a plan. I feel confident and I know I'm taking care of my body instead of punishing it. She went on to travel many, many times this whole year on top of that, while maintaining her weight, while still, like going on holidays for 2-3 weeks at a time, going to Europe and not falling into this, losing and gaining weight yo-yo cycle anymore. So we've covered a lot of science today about what's actually happening in your body during perimenopause and menopause and why the holidays are especially challenging for you right now. And if you're still here with me, it's probably because you're a certain type of woman. You're someone who understands why things are happening in your body, not just follow another cookie cutter plan. You're tired of the diet roller coaster and you want sustainable results that actually last. You want to enjoy the holidays without gaining the typical 5 to 8 pounds that takes months to lose or you never lose. And you're ready to take action instead of just wishing things were different. And you value expert guidance and know that working with someone who's been there and understands hormonal changes is worth investing in. And that excites me because honestly, these are the type of women we love working with. These are the women who find the most success in our one-on-one coaching program. They're coachable, they're committed, and they're ready to do things differently than they've done before. So now I know what you learned today, that December and the holiday season actually might seem like, I hope you don't think it's the worst time to do it, especially with my explanation of, it's 114 meals out of 124. But let me tell you that you might think it's the worst time to get started, but it's actually the best time. And here's what happens with most women. They wait until January 1st to start or January 2nd. They show up to the gym on January 2nd with everyone else. They start some restrictive diet. Let's put in intermittent fasting or keto, or, I'm going to just not eat carbs. They're fully motivated. But here's the problem. They're not actually in a position to successfully lose body fat. Remember what we talked about today. There's hormonal dysregulation happening with insulin resistance, elevated cortisol, disrupted leptin and ghrelin, plus all of the hormonal symptoms from perimenopause and menopause that make fat loss very difficult. Your metabolism is shot from years of dieting. Your cortisol is through the roof. You're breaking down muscle instead of building it, and your insulin sensitivity is terrible. So they struggle. They're working so hard, but not getting results. And by February, they've fallen completely off. Has this happened? Does this sound familiar to any of you? This cycle of January, where you start and then completely fall off by February or March. Has that happened to you? If no, any of you? But when you start in December doing the right things, everything changes. When you start working with us in December, you spend that month healing your metabolism so you're actually ready to lose fat in January, balancing your hormones through strategic nutrition and smart training, building sustainable habits during the hardest month of the year, learning how to navigate parties, family dinners, and holiday stress, and setting you up so that January 1st, you're already seeing progress. So then when January hits, you're not just starting from scratch like everyone else. You're already 4 to 6 weeks into the process. Your metabolism is functioning better. Your hormones are more balanced and you know how to handle temptation and stress. So the results in January come much faster and much easier to achieve. And when you actually stay on track, you don't fall off by February. You get to your fat loss goals by summer or even maybe a little bit longer, depending on how much weight you're looking to lose, instead of still spinning your wheels next December, wondering why nothing worked. So now I actually want to talk to all of you about something I'd like to do for everyone who's still here. And if you're interested, for those of you that are interested in getting one-on-one support that you need in order to have a successful new year transformation, and honestly, a transformation that goes way beyond just January. And if you're serious about that and it's something that you're interested, just go ahead and stick around because I'm going to explain how this would work. And I can go over all the details because I am going to make a special offer for those of you that are on the call tonight. So for those of you that are interested in joining our one-on-one coaching program or want to hear a little bit more about that, then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our program and how we can help you. Okay. So if you want to stick around for that, if you can, if not, no problem. This is your time to go if that's not something that you're interested in. So what I want to go over is, now that you understand why your body is different and what's blocking fat loss during perimenopause and menopause, I'm going to show you what to do instead. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you our 5-step fat loss formula. Okay, so this is the fat loss formula that I use to lose 50 pounds in my 40s. And it is the exact same formula that have helped hundreds of midlife women do the same. Okay, so this isn't about restriction or willpower. It's about restoring your metabolism. We focus on supporting your hormones. We focus on reducing internal stress and inflammation and teaching your body to burn fat again. Okay. Step number 1 of our fat loss formula is a hormone supporting nutrition. So this is where everything starts. Nutrition is the most powerful lever we have to improve insulin sensitivity, lower inflammation in the body, because when cortisol levels go up, inflammation also goes up. We also know that as estrogen drops, inflammation goes up in the body. We can help support your hormone balance, fuel your metabolism, and build more metabolic flexibility. So what this looks like in practice is that you'll be eating the right portions for your body. Okay, so the right balance of protein, carbs, and fats that support your hormones. We focus on high quality foods 80% of the time, and then fun foods 20% of the time, so that it's sustainable, so that you can learn how to enjoy, a piece of chocolate or your favorite treat daily. This is something that our clients get to enjoy daily. And so here's what's different from other programs. We use balanced macros that improve insulin sensitivity, help you with anti-inflammatory foods that support liver detoxification, proper meal timing that works with your natural hormone rhythms, and also strategic carb intake that supports your thyroid function. So this isn't just about calories in and calories out. It's about restoring your body's fat-burning hormones while building your metabolism. So when you eat enough, not too little, and you hit your protein goals, your body can finally shift out of survival mode and start shifting into fat-burning mode without tanking your metabolism or hormones. Step 2 is insulin sensitizing movement. So this is your daily movement that improves your glucose uptake without spiking cortisol. So this is what transforms your body from sugar burner to fat burner. So this is what we're talking about is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So this is the movement that you do that is not exercise. So this is walking, house chores, playing with your kids, being active throughout the day. We know that this daily movement and walking improves insulin sensitivity. It reduces inflammation. It helps regulate cortisol, and it supports a calm, resilient nervous system. And the best part, it doesn't burn you out like excessive cardio does. It regulates your system, and it's really key in midlife when your cortisol is already regulated. Step 3 of our fat loss formula is metabolic strength training. How many of you right now are currently strength training? How many of you here are currently lifting weights? So this is where the magic happens. I don't know if any of my clients are still here or not. I know that we have a few comments here from my clients, but they may have left already. But this is where the magic really happens in your metabolism and is also your body composition. And I just want to clarify this, that just because you're lifting weights in a group fitness class does not mean that you are sending the signal to your body to build lean muscle mass. So strength training, where we are signaling to your body to build lean muscle mass, requires a strategic type of programming. Okay. It requires a progressive overload type of strength training program. I run a 28-day challenge, and we've had lots of clients come in there and they're like, oh, I'm doing a group fitness class, or I'm doing this, where clients coming to join the program. And it's like, if you're lifting 5-10 pound weights and you've been doing that for 6 months or a year, you are not sending the right signal to your body to build lean muscle mass. What we do know is that with the loss of estrogen, we know that the muscle contraction becomes harder. And so the way that we need to stimulate building lean muscle mass is through a strategic progressive overload strength training program, where you'll be lifting, you might start off with 2 days a week, depending on where your level is at, but where you'll be lifting 3 to 4 times a week. And you can do that from home or at the gym. And this will help you improve your metabolic strength, your metabolic capacity. You'll learn how to work within a strategic program that creates that afterburn effect. So keeping you in that fat burning mode for hours after that workout. Why? Because the more muscle you have on your body, the more calories your body is going to burn at rest. This is why we don't do cardio in our program. It's not strategic. It doesn't work. It may have worked in our younger bodies when we had estrogen and progesterone, high levels of this. But now that we don't have high levels of estrogen and progesterone, we have to stimulate muscle growth in a very strategic way. So it's a combination of strength training and also eating adequate amount of protein. Those are the 2 major stimuluses that you need to give your body in order to build lean muscle mass. And like we talked about earlier, we're in a catabolic state when we're in perimenopause and menopause. So I'm not saying that you cannot build muscle, because you can. We've helped hundreds of our clients do that, but it does require proper programming to do that. Not generic ones, not YouTube videos, not I'm going to do this Instagram workout that this person posted today, and then tomorrow do another program. You have to look at strength training. And one of my friends said this to me, as a sport, like you are an athlete, and it requires strategic programming to do that. Okay. And so the programming you can do at home, you could do at the gym. We provide travel and hotel workout programs for our clients as well too. It's a structured phases. So it's specifically customized to you and your fitness level. So if you're a beginner workout, if you're a beginner fitness level, that's where we start you off. If you've been someone who's been in the gym lifting weights for years, then we are going to give you an either intermediate or an advanced level. So the workout programs are customized to you. Step number 4 of our fat loss formula is hormone recovery protocol. So this is the glue that holds everything together. So without this step, the other 4 steps won't work. We can't out diet or out train inflammation, poor sleep, and chronic stress. So remember what we've learned. We have an elevated baseline cortisol from higher sympathetic drive due to the loss of estrogen and progesterone, and because of the changes that are happening in our body. You have a disrupted sleep architecture from hormonal fluctuations, especially, estrogen and progesterone's effect on sleep. We have dysregulated serotonin, and you have an increased inflammatory response systematically. So all of these factors will block fat loss, no matter how perfectly you eat or train. So that's why supporting your nervous system and hormone recovery is just as important as lifting weights or eating protein. You can go lift weights, you can eat enough protein, but if you're not sleeping well, if your stress levels are high, if you have poor liver detoxification, it's not going to work. So that is why this is a big part of our process and our coaching with our clients. Thanks for tuning in to the Muscle Strength and Menopause podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you hit the follow, leave a 5-star review, or share this with another woman over 40 who needs to hear this message. And if you're ready to stop working against your hormones and start building the muscle that becomes your menopause superpower, visit sarafrenzafitness.com to learn about my one-on-one coaching program using my signature hourglass body method. Remember, this isn't your decline, ladies. This is your comeback. And so I hope you tune in again next week. Now, before we go, a quick reminder, this podcast offers health, nutrition, and fitness information for entertainment and educational purpose only. Always consult with your physician or healthcare professional for any health-related questions. And remember that any information provided here is at your own risk.